Have you ever wondered what it's really like to retire early? I retired at 51, and while everyone assumes it's just freedom and relaxation, the truth is, it changed who I thought I was. I was in a conversation with my wife the other day, and I said, it's weird because I don't have to be on for other people anymore. And she smiled and said, "You mean you can finally just be you?" And at that moment, it hit me. Retirement wasn't just about having free time, it was about shedding the constant performance of being someone I wasn't and starting to figure out who I really am as a person. But before I get into this any further, I want to just take an opportunity to thank all of you, the subscribers, for coming onto this channel and giving yourselves to me as much as I'm giving to you. This morning, I was playing golf with some people, and again, I'm wearing a golf shirt, and so you could see it. But I was talking to a guy that I met, a guy named Josh, and we were just talking about something. We were talking about how in the AI generation that people are going to crave the authenticity of people because everything is automated and you call customer service, it's an automated bot and things like that, and that there's going to be a value as we continue to move forward for real authentic conversation. And I thought to myself that you could use AI and stuff to create the hacks and all of that, and you may get on YouTube, you may get clicks and you may get people that look at your view initially. But then it got me really thinking that I have an audience of people who are listening to me, Sabado, tell my story to you, and it's resonating with you in a way that you take time out of your busy days to subscribe and watch me every single week, a couple of times a week. And I've had a couple of people that I've had conversations with on the phone. I've had a couple of you that have given me content ideas that I was able to use on the channel and that really generated and resonated with other people. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you for all that you are doing for me. And I hope that you're continuing to receive value from the channel. And I'm going to continue doing this until the brakes fall off because, again, like I told this guy Josh earlier today, is there's just not a lot of people that are in this situation. I recognize, folks, that I represent maybe 1% of the entire population that's able to retire early. But part of the reason that I'm only 1% of the entire population is because I did something that a lot of people don't think are possible. And I want to show that this is possible. And the stuff that I did wasn't incredibly extraordinary. So the fact that my story is resonating with you, it's incredibly humbling. And I wanted to take an opportunity just to say thank you. So, on that note, I'll get back to the content. For most of my life, my job defined me. I was the human resource executive. I was the problem solver. I was the leader. I was the person that when I talked, people listened. People introduced me by my job title. And I got to be honest, I introduced myself that way too. I realized in the conversation that I had with my wife how much I had been performing, not just at work, but for everyone around me. I was always on, I was always trying to meet expectations. And I had a lot of people that would ask me what's wrong because I wasn't smiling or telling jokes. And I had this whole theory about certain people in our society are expected to entertain and to perform, but I'm not going down that path today. But I realized that I played into that. And the key takeaway from that is my job wasn't just work, it was also my identity. In the first few months of my retirement, things were kind of strange. I had all this free time, but I didn't really know who I was without the daily grind. And I questioned my purpose, I questioned my usefulness because every day I would get up every day at the same time, 5:30, go into the office, have a couple cups of coffee, do my rounds, get into meetings, and by the time I looked up, it was 6 o'clock in the evening, and I'm coming home and I'm back doing 2 hours worth of stuff. And every Sunday, I was golfing with a group of guys that were different than me, but because they were able to fit into my schedule, I would hang with them. And then maybe I'd do something on Saturday, but I was so wiped out from the work week. And that really defined who I was and how I moved. And and I kept thinking about what my wife said is you could just finally be you. You can do what you want to do. You could be who you want to be. If you want to be happy one day, you can be happy one day. If you don't want to talk, you don't want to talk. And that's led to it has been the undercurrent of a lot of the changes that I've talked about in other videos and changing who I was and really focusing and becoming efficient. And one of the guys I was golfing with today, he's talking about retirement, and I was telling him that it's just a different you have to adjust because everything else starts to coalesce around the fact that you're retired. And I told him that right now, the only thing that's really important to me are things that bring me peace. If it doesn't bring me peace, I'm not doing it. If you want to argue about stupid shit, I'm not doing it. If you want to come to me with some drama, I'm not into that. I'm into peace. I'm into a life that has layers of comfort around it that create and enhance my peace. This YouTube channel enhances my peace. Otherwise, I just wouldn't do it. But it wasn't always like that. And I'll tell you that in the beginning, it was liberating, but it was also a little scary because I wasn't able to switch on who I was. So if you're thinking about early retirement, know this: shedding your work identity takes time, and you have to be patient with yourself because it's not going to happen right away. And I get comment after comment with, "What are you gonna do after you retire?" And the other comment I get is I've known people that have retired and they go on to die right after because they get bored and they don't have an identity. That's why it's critically important for you to have an understanding of what you're retiring to, as opposed to what we normally do and think about, I just got to get out of the rat race because I'm tired of dealing with all these knuckleheads at work. So eventually, I embraced that freedom and I explored hobbies that I had neglected. The golf we talk about, I'm now down to being a 19 handicap, down from a 24, and I'd been at like a 27 for 20 years. The gardening, I went and became and got certified as a UC master gardener. Learning the piano, and that's still something that is a work in progress because that's going to be something that is just it's difficult. Anybody that's learned a new instrument, it's difficult, but it's I'm better today than I was when I started. And ultimately, creating this YouTube channel, creating a YouTube channel, I'm not going to sit here and try to blow smoke or sunshine and say that this is like some incredibly difficult thing, but it takes time. And I got to come up with the stuff that we're talking about. I have to delve deep into my experience so I could share it with you so you could gain some valuable insight to it. And I have to ask myself, who could drop it on the angle and cute at that? So do that, do that, do that, that. I had to do it. You know, those you've been rocking me with for a while know that I got to do it. But these activities weren't activities that were just filling my time. They gave me a new sense of purpose and who I am, separate from being on for anybody. So I don't particularly enjoy being around large groups of people anymore. Unless I'm having a real conversation with you, I want to have a conversation. The people, and maybe they'll chime in here, but the people that were on the that I've talked to over on the phone over the last couple of weeks, giving consultations and stuff to, they know that I'm the same dude that's giving these videos. That's what is important to me. And so the conversation I had with my wife kept echoing in my mind, and it continues to echo in my mind all the time that I don't have to perform for anyone. I can do it my way, and I can define myself on my own terms. And I'm going to tell you, that's liberating. And I know a lot of you out there saying, I live my life on my own terms anyway. That's bullshit because you go into work, and if you say what's on your mind half the time, you're going to have a problem. Just like in that Dave Chappelle video, when keeping it real goes wrong. If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube, check out the Dave Chappelle When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong, and tell me that ain't you. If it's not you, then I commend you because you found your life's work. But 98% of us, that just ain't it. So I got a question for you. Have you ever felt like you were always performing for others? And how did you rediscover your true self? How did you reintroduce yourself? Because it's not easy. It seems easy. It seems like it should be intuitive, but it's just not. So there's some lessons that I've learned that I'm going to share with you that I think kind of wrap all of this up. Number one, identity shifts are a natural part of growth. I've had people that have told me, Salvador, you're not the same person you were at this other time in your life. And I'm like, good, because if I'm the same person I was when I was 17 years old, then that means I didn't evolve. And I don't want to be a grown ass 17-year-old. I want to be a grown ass 53-year-old that's rocking with grown up style. It's just the way it goes. And people that are caught in that loop are still doing things from that loop. And when you look at them, it's frustrating because things become intuitive to you because you've grown. Number two, retirement isn't just about free time. It's a chance to redefine yourself. It's a chance for you to get out of the rat race. It's a chance for you to move away from whatever reputation you've built or whatever loops that you've gotten into and redefine those things and become who you want to become. Because now you're living life on your own terms. You don't have the stress of everybody else. You don't have everybody else telling you what you do. You don't have a bunch of goals and objectives that meet somebody else's needs or that fills their coffers. You could do what it is you want to do. The key is figuring that out. Number three, your value comes from who you are, not the roles you play. I've got friends of mine that are business owners, that are CEOs, they do all kinds of cool stuff. I got one buddy of mine, my best friend, produced something for Cartoon Network that had guys like KRS-One and all that for, I think it was like a Dexter's Laboratory soundtrack or something like that. Yeah, he produced that. But anyway, what we always say when we're around each other, it's not what you're doing, but who you're doing it with. And it's the same thing with the job. Like people, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. If you do some cool stuff, then I'm cool with that. It's like, yo, that's cool, but that shouldn't define who you are because what happens if you don't do that job? What happens if you get fired? Now what? Now you're no longer who you are. So it's not about what you do, it's not about your job, it's about who you are. And I think certain types of people have a propensity to do certain types of jobs. I think people that are salespeople have a tendency to try to convince other people of ideas and thoughts and things like that. But it doesn't, but what defines a person that's a salesperson isn't the fact that they work for Salesforce. It's the fact that this is the way this person moves and this is who this person is. And number four, having someone in your life, like I have my wife, uh, can make all the difference because it gives me the opportunity not just to deal with stuff on my own and sit on my couch in front of the TV and say, "Oh, Salvador, what's going on?" But to be able to reflect and have those conversations with that person. I do the same thing with my best friend, and I do the same thing. I test ideas off of people when I'm golfing with them or some of these other activities that I'm doing because it's really important to have somebody else in your cipher that you could bounce ideas off. It's just like the creative folks do. Creatives, we get together and we just bounce off ideas. And it's not even that we're going to use any one of those ideas, but it's the idea of bouncing the ideas off because it creates something that's new and improved. So, in closing, I just want to say that retiring early, it was scary. And I know a lot of the pushback that I get from a lot of you, whether you admit it or not, it's going to be because of fear. I get that. And that's why I keep pushing because I'm going to keep pushing you and holding you accountable to what you want to do. Now, if you don't want to retire, then this is probably not the right channel for you, but I'm going to continue to push you and continue to give you the GAME that's going to help you get to where you are, but I'll tell you that it was the best decision that I ever made. My freedom, my health, and for my identity. And that simple call to action with my wife, it reminded me I didn't need to be on anymore. I could finally just be me. And once you get to that place without telling yourself or performing for yourself that you're getting to that place, it's incredibly liberating. And when you get there, leave in the comments and let me know that you got there because you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So comment below if you've ever felt your identity shift after a big life change. It could be anything. It could be after having an illness and overcoming an illness. It could be when you go into having an illness. It could be anything, but any life change. Tell me about that. And if you want more honest stories, about life after retirement, hit that subscribe button. Join the community. Join me on the journey. Share it with your friends because if it's interesting to you, it's interesting to other people. And as I've mentioned in other videos, one of the things that I've done is in my channel description, I've left an email address. And so if you shoot me an email, I could do a consultation with you. We can just have a conversation, just be two two homies having a conversation. I don't charge for them. I'm not trying to make money off of people. I'm just having conversations because at the end of the day, I've been fortunate enough to be in a spot where I'm able to help others and actually have something to say to help others. And my commitment to you is that if you ever ask me a question, if you're important enough for me to answer the question, it's always going to be the truth and your fam, and I'm going to answer that question. The only question I'm not going to answer is I'm not going to go into details, and I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. I'm not going to go into details about all my specifics of finances. People say why, because it's none of your business. The reality is you tell me what's in your bank account and send me a statement, and we talk. I'm just not going to go down that path. And I think people are trolling when they do that, but I will tell you how we're set up. I will tell you the steps that we took. I will tell you the mindset and the perspective. So, anyhow, I'll step off of my soapbox there, but hey, I just want to tell you it's never my expectation that everybody retire early, but it is my expectation that you live your best life. So, on that note, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.